What if the things you throw away could become the most beautiful part of your garden? Today on Simply DIY, we'll explore how old clay jars, bottles, and flower vases can be transformed into stunning garden borders, tiny patio decor, and even backyard fences. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Disclaimer: every image you see here is purely for inspiration. If you feel inspired, take the idea, shape it with your own creativity, and use what you already have at home to make it real. Maybe to you, I'm just another face on a screen. But behind this content lies a dream and a family. Every like, every comment, every subscribe, it's not just support, it's a lifeline. When you subscribe, you're not only helping a creator grow, you're helping keep hope alive. Thank you for being here. Thank you for seeing me. Imagine stepping into your backyard and being greeted by a row of humble clay jars, once forgotten in the corner of the house, now reborn as living planters. Each jar carries a story, cradling herbs like rosemary, basil, and mint whose fragrance lingers in the morning air. It's not just a garden border, but a gentle reminder that beauty often comes from the simplest transformations. Using clay jars this way is not only practical but timeless. Their earthy texture blends effortlessly with the soil, giving a natural flow between the plants and the ground. You can paint them or keep their rustic charm untouched. Fill them with herbs if you want freshness for your kitchen, or let flowers bloom inside to add splashes of color along your patio path. And for those who love sweet rewards, strawberry plants cascading over the rim of each jar create a living edge that feels abundant and alive. This idea is more than decor. It's about harmony. It turns waste into wonder, creating borders that shape not just your garden but also your mood. Every time you water the jars, you'll see life responding. Green leaves reaching upward, flowers smiling toward the sun. It's a simple DIY, one that doesn't demand much, yet gives back beauty every single day. There is something deeply comforting about a garden that feels both handmade and alive. Imagine small clay jars, once set aside and forgotten, now forming a gentle fence that wraps around your backyard. Each jar, whether placed upright, on its side, or cut in half, becomes a little vessel of possibility. Some cradle bright wildflowers, their petals dancing with the breeze, while others hold climbing vines that spill over gracefully, softening the hard edges of the jars with green life. Creating a fence like this does not require perfection. In fact, the slight irregular shapes of the clay make the border feel more authentic, more personal, as if the garden itself is telling its own story. You can fill the jars with succulents if you prefer something low maintenance, or with small fruits like cherry tomatoes if you want color that delights both the eyes and the taste. This kind of upcycling is more than decoration. It is a rhythm of sustainability. Instead of buying expensive fencing, you are shaping beauty from what you already have, giving your space a boundary that is both functional and poetic. Every glance at this handmade fence reminds you that creativity is not about grand gestures, but about turning ordinary objects into something meaningful. It is a quiet invitation to slow down, to notice, and to enjoy the little miracles that grow right at your feet. There is a quiet joy in taking something as ordinary as an old clay jar and breathing new life into it with a stroke of paint. Picture the edge of your patio lined with jars dressed in soft pastels or bold earthy tones, each one a tiny canvas reflecting your own creativity. The colors play against the green of the plants they hold, lavender swaying gently, daisies opening toward the sun, herbs standing fresh and ready for your kitchen table. This is a project that invites both artistry and practicality. You don't need expensive supplies, just a brush, a few paints, and the willingness to let your imagination guide you. Patterns can be as simple as stripes or dots, or as intricate as floral motifs inspired by nature. The beauty is that no two jars will ever look the same, and together they create a border that feels vibrant yet personal, almost like a gallery in your garden. Beyond the charm it brings to your patio, painted jars also serve as a way to protect the clay from weather, making them last longer outdoors. And each season, you can repaint or refresh the look, keeping your garden edging as dynamic as the life growing within it. It is a gentle reminder that design is not about perfection, but about finding harmony between color, texture, and the living plants that complete the scene. There is a certain magic in creating something small, something that feels like it belongs to a secret world inside your garden. Imagine taking plastic bottles, usually discarded without thought, and reshaping them into miniature houses. With a little paint, a few careful cuts, and a touch of imagination, these bottles become tiny cottages, each with its own character. When arranged along a pathway or tucked beside flowers, they form a charming village that sparks curiosity in anyone who passes by. The beauty of this DIY lies in its playfulness. You are not only recycling plastic, but also bringing storytelling into your backyard. Children love to wander near these miniature houses, imagining stories of little people or forest fairies living among the flowers. Adults, too, find comfort in the nostalgia they create, a reminder of simpler joys. You can decorate the bottle houses with painted windows, doors, or even miniature fences. Surround them with daisies, marigolds, or succulents, and suddenly the garden feels alive with character. What once was trash now becomes a living landscape of creativity. This project does not demand perfection, only the willingness to look at ordinary materials with kinder eyes. And as you place each bottle house in the soil, you're not just decorating. You're planting a story, one that will grow each time you step into your garden. There is a quiet charm in crafting a fence that is small in size yet large in imagination. Picture rows of little bottles, once simple containers, now transformed into a playful border that gently frames your tiny garden. Each bottle, whether painted in soft pastels or left in earthy tones, adds its own rhythm to the line, creating a path that feels handcrafted and full of personality. This kind of DIY is beautifully practical. Instead of buying expensive fencing, you are reshaping what would be waste into something useful and decorative. The bottles, cut to size and placed side by side, become a protective edge for herbs, vegetables, or flowers. And if you choose to paint them, the colors brighten your garden and invite the eye to follow the border like a story told along the ground. What makes this idea inspiring is its accessibility. Anyone can do it. The materials are simple, the steps forgiving, yet the outcome feels magical. When sunlight touches the painted surfaces, or when flowers bloom just behind the line of bottles, the whole space looks alive with warmth. It is a gentle reminder that beauty does not always demand new things. Sometimes it's born from the creativity of using what's already in our hands. There is a calmness that only water can bring, a sound so gentle it feels like a whisper to the soul. Imagine an old flower vase, once used to hold bouquets, now filled with clear water and transformed into a fountain that breathes serenity into your patio. A few river stones rest at the bottom, while lotus petals or tiny lilies float softly on the surface. As water bubbles and trickles, the ripples shimmer in the light, creating a soothing rhythm that instantly slows your thoughts. This idea is not only beautiful, it is practical and surprisingly simple to recreate. All you need is a sturdy vase, a small pump, and your choice of natural elements. Some may choose colorful fish like guppies or bettas to bring movement, while others may prefer aquatic plants that sway like underwater gardens. Placed in a corner of your patio, surrounded by greenery or simple wooden furniture, the fountain becomes a living artwork, inviting you to pause, breathe, and linger just a little longer. It reminds us that even the smallest spaces can hold peace. You don't need a large pond or expensive decor to create an atmosphere of balance. Sometimes, a single vase of water, touched by light and sound, is enough to turn your backyard or patio into a sanctuary. There is something enchanting about a garden that rises upward, drawing the eye to blossoms that float gently in the air. Imagine old flower vases, once left unused, now hanging gracefully along a fence or patio wall. Each vase becomes a cradle for fresh herbs or colorful flowers, swaying slightly as the breeze passes through. The glass catches the sunlight, turning the colors of the petals brighter, almost as if they were glowing from within. This simple idea adds depth and dimension to even the smallest of gardens. By using vertical space, you create a border that doesn't take away precious ground but still frames your outdoor area with elegance. Herbs like basil or mint thrive beautifully this way, and cascading flowers like ivy geraniums spill over, softening the edges with a natural flow. The process is gentle and forgiving. You don't need expensive tools or complicated steps. Strong rope, a secure hook, and a little creativity are enough to bring it to life. And every time you water these hanging vases, droplets glisten on the glass, a reminder of how a touch of care can turn discarded objects into living ornaments. In the quiet of evening, when the last light of the day filters through the vases, your garden border feels like a living lantern, glowing with the warmth of nature and the beauty of reuse. Sometimes, the simplest vessels can hold entire worlds. Imagine a clear flower vase placed gently in a corner of your tiny garden, not with cut flowers, but with water alive with movement. At the surface, small lilies and water lettuce float gracefully, their leaves spreading wide like little green rafts. Beneath, tiny fish swim among smooth river stones, their colors flashing when sunlight slips through the glass. This idea is more than decoration. It is an ecosystem in miniature. Floating plants not only bring beauty but also help to keep the water fresh, offering shade and balance to the life inside. You can choose lotus leaves for elegance or duckweed for a soft, natural carpet. Adding pebbles, shells, or even a few aquatic plants at the bottom creates layers of texture that feel calming to the eye. The joy of this DIY lies in how adaptable it is. Even in the smallest patio or backyard, a single vase can hold the serenity of a pond. It turns a forgotten container into a window of water, reflecting sky and greenery while offering a gentle rhythm of life. Standing beside it, you will find yourself pausing longer than expected, simply watching ripples form and disappear. It is a reminder that tranquility doesn't always need space. It only needs care, imagination, and a vase willing to hold it. As daylight fades and the first shadows of evening stretch across the garden, there is a quiet magic waiting to be revealed. Picture a simple patio pathway lined with glowing lights, each one born from something as ordinary as a discarded plastic bottle. With a little care, the bottles are painted, cut with delicate patterns, or paired with tiny solar lamps, transforming them into lanterns that guide every step. This idea is not only enchanting but wonderfully practical. It shows how light itself can be shaped through creativity, bringing warmth to a walkway without the need for expensive fixtures. The gentle glow reflects on gravel or stone, making the patio feel alive long after the sun has gone. Children will love following the tiny lights as if they were fireflies, while guests will admire the ingenuity hidden in such a humble material. The process is forgiving, inviting experimentation. Some bottles can be left clear to let the light shine fully, others painted in soft, translucent hues to create a dreamy effect. A row of them together feels like a constellation on the ground, illuminating both the path and the imagination. And in every flicker of light, you'll be reminded that beauty often begins with what we choose not to throw away. There is a quiet satisfaction in knowing that the food you prepare comes from just a few steps outside your door. Imagine old clay jars, once worn and forgotten, now standing proudly as the edging of a tiny herb garden. Each jar cradles life: basil with its sweet fragrance, rosemary with its woody scent, mint that refreshes the air with every touch. The jars don't just hold plants, they hold the promise of flavors and aromas that will find their way to your table. This idea is as practical as it is beautiful. Clay naturally keeps soil cool and moist, giving herbs the conditions they love to thrive. By lining them along a path or patio edge, you create a border that is both functional and decorative. Each jar becomes a chapter in your garden, offering a different texture, scent, and taste. Even in the smallest spaces, a row of jars can provide enough herbs to enrich daily meals, while also bringing a softness and rhythm to the garden's design. What makes this edging so inviting is its balance between simplicity and abundance. You don't need a wide field to grow something meaningful, just a handful of jars, a little soil, and the patience to watch leaves unfurl. And each time you step into the garden, plucking a sprig of parsley or mint, you are reminded of how creativity and care can transform the ordinary into something nourishing, both for the body and the spirit. In the quiet of a backyard, even the simplest materials can be woven into something extraordinary. Picture a line of clay jars, their earthy tones grounding the space, standing side by side with bottles that catch the sunlight and scatter it into colors. Together, they form a fence that is more than just a boundary. It is a mosaic of textures, shapes, and reflections, each piece carrying its own story. This is the kind of project that celebrates creativity over perfection. The clay jars can hold herbs or flowers, adding life to the structure, while bottles, whether painted or left in their natural hues, shimmer and glow as the day changes. The result is a fence that is both functional and artistic, offering privacy, edging, or simply a touch of personality to your garden. What makes this idea so inspiring is its adaptability. You can alternate between jars and bottles to create patterns, arrange them by color for a playful effect, or leave them mismatched for a rustic, handmade charm. Every choice reflects your own rhythm and style, turning what might be considered trash into something that frames your garden with warmth. And each time the light passes through the glass or the wind rustles the plants in the jars, the fence feels alive, reminding you that beauty often grows from the courage to reuse. Sometimes the most charming details in a garden come not from costly materials, but from the clever use of what you already have. Imagine a tiny yard edged with an assortment of bottles and flower vases, each one carefully placed to create a fence that feels playful and alive. Some bottles are buried upside down, their glass catching the sun and scattering bits of color across the grass. Beside them, vases hold herbs and flowers, lavender releasing its calming scent, marigolds shining in warm orange tones. This idea is proof that beauty doesn't have to be expensive. With just a few discarded vases and bottles, you can craft a boundary that both defines the garden and decorates it. You might choose to paint the bottles in soft pastels for a cheerful look, or leave them clear so the sunlight dances through. The vases, meanwhile, can be filled with anything from fresh herbs for cooking to cascading flowers that spill over and soften the fence's outline. The joy of this DIY lies in its accessibility. Even in the smallest of yards, where space and budget might feel limited, this simple project can transform the atmosphere. It invites you to see potential in what others might throw away, and in doing so, to create a space that feels personal, colorful, and full of life. Standing beside such a fence, you can sense both the creativity that built it and the quiet care that keeps it thriving. There is a kind of joy that comes from blending colors, textures, and shapes into something unexpected. Picture a row of painted clay jars, each one alive with hand-drawn patterns or soft pastel tones, standing proudly along the edge of a garden. Between them, small bottles peek out, their glass or painted surfaces catching the light and adding playful sparks of color. Together, they create a border that feels almost like a celebration. Humble objects working side by side to frame the life growing within. This combination is more than decorative. It is practical and endlessly adaptable. The clay jars, filled with herbs or flowers, bring freshness and fragrance to the garden. The bottles, whether clear or painted, add rhythm and detail, turning a simple line of edging into something far more expressive. The balance between clay's earthiness and glass's brightness makes the garden feel grounded yet lively, rustic yet cheerful. What makes this idea especially inviting is how easy it is to make your own mark. Each jar and bottle can be painted differently, reflecting your mood, your style, or even the season. Over time, the border grows not only with the plants inside, but also with the memories of the hands that shaped it. And every time you walk past, you're reminded that creativity thrives in combinations of materials, of colors, and of the patience that brings them together. There is something mesmerizing about water when it becomes the heart of a space. Imagine sitting on your patio, a gentle breeze moving through, and at the center of the table rests a clear flower vase, now transformed into a living aquarium. Inside, small fish glide gracefully between smooth stones and bright green aquatic plants. Above them, floating lotus leaves and tiny lilies spread across the surface, their reflections dancing in the afternoon light. This is more than a decoration, it is an atmosphere. The vase, once ordinary, now holds a world within it, creating both beauty and calm. It becomes a natural gathering point, inviting conversation, or simply offering a reason to pause. The soundless motion of fish, the way sunlight bends through the water, the delicate details of plants swaying gently, all of it weaves together to make your patio feel like a sanctuary. What makes this idea so practical is its simplicity. You don't need a large pond or heavy installation. A sturdy vase, a few stones, a bit of care, and life begins to thrive. You can choose guppies, goldfish, or even keep it plant only if you prefer. Each choice makes the centerpiece uniquely yours. And when paired with flowers or candles around it, the aquarium becomes more than an object. It becomes a quiet reminder that even the smallest spaces can hold entire worlds of beauty. quiet beauty in seeing what was once discarded come back to life in a garden. Picture a row of bottles, once forgotten in the trash, now standing proudly in the soil, their colors catching the sunlight and reflecting it back like fragments of a rainbow. Some are painted in soft pastels, others kept in their natural hues of green and brown, creating a fence that feels playful yet purposeful. This project is more than just decoration, it is a statement of care. Each bottle, when placed side by side, forms a boundary that defines your garden while also reminding you of the value hidden in everyday waste. With just a bit of paint or even left plain, the bottles transform into posts that guide the eye and protect the plants behind them. Herbs, flowers, or even vegetables seem to grow with more confidence when framed by such a handmade border. The charm lies in its simplicity. Collect what you have, clean it, and let creativity guide your arrangement. Perhaps alternate colors for rhythm, or keep them mismatched for a rustic feel. As the days pass, the bottles will glisten with dew in the morning and glow warmly in the evening light. And every time you walk past this fence, you'll be reminded that beauty often blooms where we choose to see potential instead of waste.